Welcome viewers to this NPTEL course on education leadership. In the last class, we were discussing about the changing scenario and higher education realities in India. So, in that context, some reforms have been recommended by the researchers and academicians. So, we are discussing this. So, today we will again focus on these reforms to be suggested and to be implemented. So, now researchers and academicians have identified three major areas considered to be the pedagogical approach of enhancing students' understanding of the international context. So, the reforms are suggested in the higher education, especially in the linguistic. One is the linguistic area, second is the curriculum area, third is the leadership area. Linguistic, multiple languages to be introduced in the higher education platform, curriculum to be updated and at par with the international standard, at par with the global university curriculum, etc., and leadership to be a very authentic, very advocative type of and turnaround kind of leadership to lead the higher education institutions. So, educational leaders can support the critical pedagogies that prepare the students to discuss the world issues. So, critical pedagogy is a theory which advocates that the students they must critically analyze all the social issues, critical issues, issues and the problems that prevail in the society. So, and there are certain parameters in critical pedagogies like the learning outcome, instructional design, students empowerment, then collaborative learning, collaborative learning and proper alignment of curricula, pedagogy and technology, etc. So, educational leaders should support this critical pedagogy to prepare the students accordingly, so as to take up the social issues, socio-political issues, socio-economic issues, to discuss it and bring reform in the society. Researchers have also promoted the new concept of advocacy leadership. So, advocacy leadership is a new concept which has to be implemented in the higher education, and what it says, the advocacy leaders in the institution should prepare themselves and their teachers to critically analyze the local, national and international landscape of socio-political and economic implications. So, advocacy leaders, that means that the leaders themselves should prepare themselves as well as their staff, their teachers, their students to discuss elaborately about the socio-political, national, local issues both at the national level and the international level and its economic implications, and encourage both the teachers and the students to create the space for dialogue about the civic participation in the society. How to uplift our society, how to make our make our public life very healthy, conducive, to create the conducive learning environment, and for that reason the leaders, education leaders, teachers, staff and the student, they should act collaboratively, they should actively participate in all the social issues, current problems, and they must have the dialogue to resolve the issues. They must have the proper communication, elaborate communication, negotiation and proper dialogue to resolve those conflicts and participate in actively in the civic issues, in the societal issues and the economic issues in the society. Discuss about the leadership for diversity and inclusion. So, like in a diverse workplace, how the leaders should behave, should demonstrate, should model the behavior, how he should adopt different kinds of policies, how he should execute those policies and practices, etc. All kinds of his activities to be diversity friendly and to welcome inclusion. So, that means even among the context of diversity, how to leverage diversity, how to manage diversity, how to welcome inclusion. So, let us discuss about some of the policies and practices. So, educational leader must demonstrate diversity friendly work culture. So, it is not just enough to invite or welcome diversity by putting the slogan like we are a diversity friendly organization, or giving a keynote address to your employees, etc., like we are a diversified company, this and that, but he himself has to demonstrate it. So, he himself has to demonstrate it, model the behavior that he prefers diversity, he is diversity friendly leader, and he also tries to create a diversity friendly work culture where everybody is free and and comfortable in working in the diverse workplace, and also inclusive modeling. That means he also demonstrate the behavior. That means if, in spite of working in a diverse workplace, that means we try to come to the common goal, or how to be inclusive, or how everybody is included in the workforce, how everybody is equally engaged and having access to the same resources. So, how to propagate, how to advocate the inclusiveness concept even in the diverse workplace or diversity friendly work culture. So, in terms of educational policy, action plans and the practices. So, being an educational leader, also the leaders should also design or spell out the educational policies and the action plans of their institutes and the practices which supports the diversity in terms of admission, giving admission or making the admission open to everybody. Then action plans for all academic activities and co-curricular activities with the diverse topic, diverse issues, diverse different languages, different subjects, etc., and also recruiting the teachers all across the diverse groups to promote the multiculturalism, to promote the diversity friendly work culture and inclusion, to support diversity, equity, inclusiveness and development of all. That means both supporting the staff, supporting the students, supporting the teacher. So, starting from your education policy to the admission, recruitment, to the action plan, to the practices, in all activities the education leaders should promote this diversity. Then investing in diversity. So, it is not just about talking about diversity, designing the action plan or practicing, but it is also investing. So, diversity, to create a diversity friendly work culture, diversified curriculum, diversified institute. So, we need to invest in it. So, you need to invest in it in terms of human resource, in terms of domain knowledge, in terms of effort, in terms of physical infrastructure, resources, all kinds of. So, investing in diversity, that is developing the intercultural competence skills. So, the focus area is that how to develop the intercultural competence skill among our staff, among our students, among our faculty, etc., to make them more proficient and competent in cultural fluency. So, what are the dimensions of cultural fluency? That is, the first is cognitive complexity, emotional energy, psychological maturity and mindfulness. Cognitive complexity, it advocates for to think at the highest intellectual level, to resolve the issues of high cognitive dissonance, and to think in a very abstract level, to the intellectual, to have an intellectual caliber of high potential. So, that is the cognitive complexity, not only to understand the complex issues and situations and the context and the topic subjects, but to exercise it, but to manifest it through our decisions and suggestions. Then emotional energy, we must have the emotional energy, spirit, enthusiasm, empathy, to not only to be culturally aware, to be sensitive to others individuals cultures and the rituals and the practices and the beliefs, etc., but to exercise it, to behave it, to interact it, to manifest it through our empathetic behavior and interpersonal relationships. Then psychological maturity. Psychological maturity says that we must understand the different perspective, others perspective, and we must be sensible enough to understand their needs, their personal choices, their comfort, their discomfort, all kinds of things. So, psychological maturity, to understand their feelings, emotions, their conditions, their perspective, etc., and the mindfulness. We must be focusing on or concentrating on or focusing on certain issues while transacting in the workplace. So, the leadership, for the leadership also it becomes very imperative, like appointing the diversity manager for career monitoring, mentoring, coaching and professional development. So, in case of the large institution or the organizations like big universities or having different campuses, etc., it is better to appoint a diversity manager for career mentoring, for giving the mentoring to all the students, even the young freshers, junior teachers, etc., that is regarding the career career mentoring, coaching also to develop specific skills, competencies, and for the professional development of all the staff and the faculty members. Then developing a culture of high academic expectations. Being the academic leader, being an educational leader, our focus is also should be on developing a work culture, a academic culture of high academic expectation. That means we want to achieve the high academic excellence, professional excellence, research excellence, and that we want to exhibit it, that we want to show it in terms of high expectations, high ambitions, aspirations, and grooming the teachers for delivering their best. So, we should not leave any opportunity opportunity left out without giving the resources, without investing the resources and opportunity for grooming our teacher. It is not just talking about high expectation, high caliber, high delivery of the best, etc., but also nurturing, giving the opportunity, creating the environment, giving them the opportunity to avail such professional development programs, inviting other experts to our own institution, and creating a generating the resources for grooming our teacher to deliver their best. So, then again sensitivity to the diversity, the careful management and interpretation of the data regarding the people's achievement and gender issues, etc. And suppose you have already given the admission to a huge number of students from diverse culture, diverse university, for diverse background, for diverse professional organization, etc., in terms of gender, in terms of subjects, in terms of age group, in terms of experience. So, if we have this data with us, then we must carefully study those data, interpret those data authentically, so that we can get some kind of trained, some kind of interpretation of data, and how to utilize those data for our diversity management and benefit or leveraging diversity. Like for example, so all the international universities or cross cultural organizations, like some universities they equally give the admission to people from all ethnic group, from all culture, from all countries. So, like for example, Singapore Management University, or United States MIT, etc., all kinds of. So, we must use those data, interpret it effectively, authentically, and use those for our benefit, like for improving the work culture, improving the academic excellence. Then awareness of gender autonomy. Now, gender autonomy, now we should not be biased, or the leaders should not be very subjective in interpreting that these jobs should be delivered to the ladies, or these jobs should be assigned to those boys, or the male, or this and that. There should not be any kind of gender bias, rather awareness of gender autonomy. That is, every staff, every colleague, every student, they must have the freedom of choices to opt for any subject, to opt for any job, to opt for any task, opt for any assignments. So, freedom of choices and expectations for the leadership position in the management. So, anybody can opt for any job, any post, be it the leader, be it the unit head, be it the mentor, be it the head faculty advisor, whatever role and responsibility they want to take up, there should be gender autonomy awareness, like anybody is free enough to expect and to select a particular kind of job or portfolio. So, then being less ethnocentric and more empathetic. So, this is the, you can say, this is the mantra of, you can say this is the basic mantra of cross cultural intelligence, or you can say developing the cultural fluency and awareness. That is, less ethnocentric means more diverse. That means we must not have any kind of bias regarding other ethnic groups, or we should not think that our culture or my culture is the best, my ethnic group is the best, and the others are not worthwhile or worth doing something like this. So, we must be less ethnocentric and more empathetic. We must be open minded, we must be very democratic in our attitude. That means more empathetic towards their beliefs, their experience, their background, their subject domain knowledge, etc., etc. So, being less ethnocentric, like not focusing on my own ethnic group, and being more empathetic by being open minded and more democratic. It is the basic mantra of diversity and inclusion, and managing and encouraging the diversity and the regular diversity audit. So, as we have the diversity manager, so on the regular basis the diversity manager should make a audit of audit of diversity audit in terms of not only in terms of recruitment, admission, then applications, applicants, or the job responsibility, or works and assignments, etc. All kinds of diversity audits should be done from time to time, on the regular basis, and those data should also be properly interpreted and utilized. So, leveraging diversity, now it is about the talent management, how to leverage, how to get the benefit of the diversity. Diversity is welcoming diversity, managing diversity, then now comes to leveraging diversity. And as because we are a diversified organizations, diversity friendly organizations, and we have incorporated inclusion also in a very proper way. Now, let us get the advantage of it, let us get the benefit out of it. So, that is the leveraging diversity, that is talent management of heterogeneous teams and the groups. The more heterogeneous the people are, the more heterogeneous the group members are, the productivity will be more authentic, the productivity will be more useful, more sustainable, like this. So, how to manage the talents of these diverse people. So, these different team members of the groups, how to manage their talents, how to enhance their talents. So, talent management is the biggest challenge for leveraging diversity, and finally achieving the best, and finally getting the best result out of it. So, diversity and inclusion are as the process of action. It's a continuous process, is the learning process, and in order to achieve this, then we have to achieve equality in terms of all aspect, in terms of opportunity, resources, and for that matter we have a 5-point framework given by Norte. So, 5-point framework for policy and practice of inclusion, like how we welcome diversity, and in the context of diversity how we also incorporate inclusion. So, there is we have to follow a framework. And that framework advocates for these 5 components, like first is the content, in terms of vision and mission and the goals also we have to demonstrate that here we are diversity friendly. How in our mission we have incorporated, how we are in our mission and the goals and objectives also we have incorporated diversity and inclusion, that has to be very specific, clearly spelled out. Then in terms of curriculum, in terms of services. So, our content must also demonstrate, exhibit that yes, we have included diversity and inclusion. Then the process of how we are using those data, how we are interpreting it and using it, then planning and consulting, how we are designing our action plan, annual academic programs, and how we are consulting with other stakeholders, how we are engaging our staff and students, and how we engage ourselves with different stakeholders, both direct and non-direct. So, all these activities and the process should also exhibit it. It is another component of this framework. Then third is the structure. Structure is organized configuration of time, space, people and interaction, like whether our institution or our organization is a kind of flatter organization, more a kind of horizontal organization with less hierarchy or a few hierarchy, and all of we treat all of them at par, and all are equally empowered with different assignments, etc. How do we organize this human manpower, the resources, and how do the people interact among themselves, how much space do they enjoy, that is equally space and time are equally distributed, resources are equally distributed. So, that is the structure of the organization, structure of the institution. Then the staffing pattern in terms of recruitment, in terms of selection, in terms of role specification, that means there is no gender bias, there is no ethnic bias. So, we equally give the recruitment and select the people from all across the groups depending on their subject knowledge, expertise, experience, etc. So, the role, and we have also specified their roles and equally distributed all the people, different kinds of the roles. Promotion facilities and promotion facilities and options are also equally open to everybody. Job conditions are equal for all. Security, job security and security privileges are also equal for all. So, all these kind of things it also exhibits, it also shows the diversity. That means we really mean diversity, we really talk the walk and walk the talk about diversity and inclusion. Then infrastructure that in terms of access to resources, safety, positive environment, equal facilities to all. So, these are, you can say, all the 5 parameters of a framework, that is the diversity friendly and inclusion, and it has added the inclusion. So, these we have to follow this 5-point framework to to you can say to concretely plan out and implement the action plan. Then again values led and the moral leadership. The education leader, the institutional leader, academic leader must be led by the certain values and professional ethics, etc. Hence, he demonstrates the moral leadership. So, to revisit, re-examine and articulate the diversity and inclusion values and practice these in the workplace. So, as an education leader, he must revisit, re-examine the institution's vision, mission, goals, and articulate clearly, explicitly the diversity and inclusion values that he wants to incorporate in their agenda and practice these in the workplace. Then the service orientation, another is how he would like to serve the people, or he wants that his staff and the colleagues wants to deliver the service to the community, to the people, to the students. So, that service orientation should also be there. So, assuming the equality and social justice, so that means whatever in whichever way we interact, we serve the people, this equality and social justice should be reflected in our behavior, and every individual, irrespective of their origin and attributes, should have the equal access and opportunity to this service and privileges. So, then authentic leadership again, authentic leaders, they have the vision and mission and the goals of institutions to be value driven. So, authentic leader, whenever they decide the values, the mission and goals of the institution, it should be well driven by the values and ethics and the high professional standards, academic standard, the brand value, the high ethical standard of the work, interpersonal relationships, sense of spirituality, that is harmonious development of the human beings, all the employees and the staff and the students, and sensibility to the others feelings, needs and aspirations, that is to develop the cultural awareness, sensitivity to cultural sensitivity or cultural fluency. So, all the positive values should be incorporated in the institution's goals and the mission agenda. Then diversity management committee, as we have already discussed, that diversity managers should be there should be regular diversity audit. Similarly, in the bigger institution, large organizations, we can have the diversity management committee. It is not just the responsibility of one manager, single manager, but a committee is there. For different purposes we have the committee. Similarly, for the diversity management and management also we have a committee, diversity management committee, to monitor the data, to design the action plan, to follow up the policies and modify, to evaluate the programs, execute the program activities and evaluate it, to get the feedback, and to also listen to the grapevines, what is undergoing, what is the undercurrent in the workplace, grapevines, and to make the rigorous scrutiny, diversity audit, to evaluate its outcome and refresh the policies, modify the policy, update the policy from time to time as per the need of the hour. So, then again the curriculum and pedagogy also to nurture diversity and inclusion. So, and here therefore, the new curriculum, that is the rainbow curriculum, has been advocated by the by some authors, that is, it is blending all the colors components, each having their uniqueness and the beauty. Like our curriculum should be diversity friendly curriculum, or you can say it nurtures the diversity bent of mind or inclusion bent of mind among the students, by incorporating different kinds of subjects, different kind of contents, different kind of culture related things, different kind of languages, different kind of techniques, different kind of people's lifestyles, all kinds of, that means all multicultural component, all multicultural content should be there in our curriculum. That is called the in terms, not only in terms of language, in terms of philosophy, in terms of political governments, in terms of economic policy, all kinds of things, that is the rainbow curriculum. So, so that the students will be well equipped, that means well equipped with all kinds of the competences and the proficiency regarding the multiculturalism, cultural sensitivity to others, and developing the social cultural intelligence, like that is the so they can develop the acceptance and trust. So, This rainbow curriculum advocates for how to develop the mutual acceptance or acceptance of other cultures, others beliefs, etc., and how to build up the trust. Then introspection, how from time to time we need to do introspection for evaluating our own behavior, own thinking process, own actions, etc., and how to have a dialogue, to conversation, communication, continuous communication, conversation, dialogue, to resolve so many issues, also to resolve so many dilemmas, so many conflicts, to so many differences of opinions, so many dissonances, etc., and at the end how to engage ourselves in innovation. When the diverse people, heterogeneous people, they work together, definitely the innovation is going to happen. So, how to create and co-create innovations. Similarly, visualization, it also enhances our creative thinking, our imagination, our visualization as well. So, we advocate for the rainbow curriculum. Similarly, it also advocates for empathy, being empathetic towards others, their feelings, their needs, their emotions, etc., to be empathetic for them. So, here to be less ethnocentric and more empathetic, relationship, how to develop the relationship among the diverse people, among the diverse group. So, then authentic communicating, in whichever way we are communicating it, so the content should be authentic. That means there should not be any kind of of any kind of false false belief or false behavior, because you are communicating with the people from other cultures. So, your communication style should be very authentic, intuiting. You are assuming something, you are predicting something. So, rainbow curriculum also helps us in predicting, in assuming, in intuiting something. Then transformation, if you want to bring some change, modification, transformation in terms of practices, in terms of ideas, in terms of policies, etc., it can also be easily brought. Learning also, continuous learning, and so learning becomes a construct in the way that we not only learn about one type or one culture or one subject or one thing, but multiple things, multiple aspects, multiple domains, multiple people from the multiple cultures, their perspectives. So, we can develop the multicultural perspective. Then ultimately the spiritual development. The spiritual development is the ultimate development of the human beings. That is the, you can say, development of the spiritual aspects of life, or you can say the self actualization, the ultimate realization of the ultimate goal of our life. That is the spiritual development of our people.